or the question I have is, in your view, what can the public and private sector improve to better implement the waste hierarchy, setting out the priorities of waste management? So waste prevention, preparing for reuse, recycling, or other recovery methods and disposal methods. So, let's check.
Yes, hello, back again. And yeah, well, it is. I could elaborate 5 hours about this. This is a very broad question. Also because you say what can the public authorities and the we are in our unit here doing a lot to first of all to vitalize the hierarchy, doing waste prevention, but we saw that in the past our instruments or our approach was not really successful. I mentioned the early warning reports, but we have also a lot of other proof that first of all the reduction is not let's say materializing or not happening. And also when it comes to recycling, even some member states claim that they have high recycling rates. Often, if you have a closer look, they tend to over-report. And also the myth of recycling is a little bit, let's say, challenged due to the fact that we are confronted already at first with losses for recovery. So we have at the best, even if we have established for a certain material a good DRS system, deposit return systems, you nonetheless have losses, but in all other areas you have significant losses of in the area of 20-30% already as from the starting point. So of the recycling process, and then on the whole downstream recycling, you have in each step again losses. So the recycling in terms of there is a lot to do to improve the circularity for those let's say materials that cannot be prevented to become waste. So we start already. I mentioned product design, then high recovery. It starts with its labeling to have a good sorting by the consumer, but also by the businesses, by the economic operators. So labeling is key, so that the disposal, the collected waste is already highly pure, and that is the start for a high quality recycling. And then, as I mentioned, the last point is then the last challenge is to ensure that what is recyclable and what is separately collected really goes into recycling. We see it at textiles at the moment. That really goes in reality. Therefore, for instance, in the packaging, we come up with a recycling at scale requirement, not only a theoretical recyclability, but also a real recycling, a factual recycling. And then to make sure that in the end, in the last step, only what is not recyclable goes into incineration with a highly efficient energy recovery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much, Wolfgang. And next to Gesine, a question. Who should provide yearly standards and regulations for correction factors?
Yeah, in my opinion, it should be provided by the states or better by the EU, so that everybody and every producer and authority can use the same, and it's not something like done in one state like that and the others like that, and the authorities are not very used to work with that. So there should be more standard regulation to give it to work with that. So in my opinion, it should not be just written down in some standard which is renewed every 20 years, but it should be given a table or something like that every year, and it should be based on main measurements. Up to now, it really gives just a big uncertainty for the calculation and things like that.
Yeah, okay, super. Thank you very much. Next is Christian Lampl. He's the Geocycle Manager, Alternative Fuels of Holcim Cement CE. And Christian, my understanding is you want to ask a question to Wolfgang Trunk? Maybe he's not here. Not sure. Christian, are you here? Or maybe muted? If not, I can also ask the question. Yeah, then basically, let's see how we are. Yeah, maybe I will just continue. So it's basically a question Christian wanted to ask to Wolfgang. So the ISO standard for calculating the recycled content in co-processing was published in May. The question is whether, when and how this standard can be incorporated into the Waste Framework Directive.
I don't think there is a need to incorporate it into the Waste Framework Directive. Standards are usually not part of a legal act, of a directive, or of standards are standards and not a directive. Or we can in the directive we can kind of launch or foresee that standards are developed, but we do not integrate. We make reference to standards, but we do not let's say integrate it.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Next is Robert Üveg. He's Alternative Fuels and Raw Materials Manager for Central and Eastern Europe division of CRH, which is, as probably all of you know, a multinational cement corporation company. So, Robert, you here? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for the words, Ingo. Additional one more information that we are the main supporter and founder of the weTHINK initiative, and we see this platform. We see the platform where to deliver messages to the decision makers in Central and Eastern Europe, especially Eastern Europe. That's why I'm personally ambassador of the weTHINK initiative in CRH company. So my responsibility is rather to Eastern Europe. So my question would be to Mr. Trunk. Yes, that which can be found in the chat part. So my question would be that are there any new founds or sources dedicated to waste management? Because we heard that in the first age of von der Leyen section or age, it was mainly focused and dedicated for CO2 reduction, to the carbon neutrality until 2050, and more financial provisions were provided to this area. And waste management was a little bit pushed back by this funds, And the question from my side that is there any opportunity or is there any plan to open new funds and new sources to supporting the waste management? Because I think in a bad performing countries, what you mentioned in the based on the early warning reports, that the countries needs for infrastructural investments in waste management in order to be compliant and showing better performance.
Yeah, two things on that. First of all, it is a little bit the dilemma that in the end, it's the member state, the respective member states that decides if these kind of it's called recover money or from these recovery funds that the EU has in the order of 700 or had in 700 billion euros. Often the money is there for the member states, but the member states prefer to invest it, let's say, in a highway rather than in a desperately needed new sorting plant or recycling facility or incineration facility also. So that is a little bit the dilemma, that it's in the end the member state who decides where these funds go, and we do not have earmarked funds for waste management. That is, we can think about now in this new Circular Economy Act that we have some more dedicated, more targeted funding on these, let's say, bottlenecks or whatever where the is. One other point is where we see what we see over with our experience in waste management plans of the member state, that also a problem that I recognized and I will address it is that if the member state wants to have some EU money to have to invest in waste management, we check their national waste management plan. And it is a little bit it's a little bit tragic that or vicious circuit that if these poor performing if they present a bad waste management plan at national level, then we have to block this funding. It's another directorate, DG, who decides over this funding. It's DG Regio, and if they ask us, what do you think about this, the waste management in Greece? and then we have a look and we say, okay, the waste management in Greece is very bad. So. But this implies that the money is blocked. And this is a little bit not a curiosity, but it's upside down, especially. So these member states are even in more need for the EU funds, and this we also try to improve in the future. That let's say a non-compliant or a bad waste management plan of a certain member state will not block anymore, but will even, let's say, be an enabler for funding waste management investments in that member states.
Okay. Super. Thank
you.
Any quick follow-up questions, Robert? I think in the next round we have another question from you or for you.
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, super. Roland is next. And basically Roland Pomberger, professor at the Montan University of Leoben. And as Sarah said, very well known in the community for waste circularity. And also we did our position paper together with Roland Pomberger. Yeah? And basically, Robert, I don't know if you want to add anything to that introduction, but then question for you would be, what is necessary in the communication to improve understanding of the necessity for thermal treatment of waste and incineration in the public opinion? Yeah? So a little bit of a reference to our very successful position paper.
Yeah, hello everybody. So if you want to build an incineration or waste to energy plant, it's crucial to achieve the public acceptance, because it would not be successful anymore if you don't get this. So and something positive has changed in the communication in the last, let's say, 3 years. Yeah, in the past, longer past, we were always talking about and discussing how to incinerate the waste and what are the problems and the risks, also technology risks, environmental risks. Yeah, and today, and this is the change I see, it's little more about energy. So the energy crisis has changed a little bit our mind, and also the mind of the public. So communication of today's projects have to address energy, yeah, that's the main point. So my second point is, we have to show the best practice plans and solutions to the public. So if you start in a country where thermal treatment is new and landfilling is the standard of municipal waste management, there is a kind of fear of the unknown. Yeah? And waste incineration, waste to energy is unknown for many people. So there's a fear. But we can show that the technology works in many countries. And we have in Europe, we have hundreds of working plants, municipal solid waste incineration with energy recovery of these different standards. But we have also many plants of industrial waste to energy plants, or in industry, or cement plants. Yeah. So these plants are running in most of the countries without any problems for health or environment. And we have to show these best practice solutions to the upcoming projects. My third point is, we have to tell the people the truth. And even the governments and the administrations, we have to tell the truth about waste management systems. Yeah, and a modern waste management system, not based on landfilling. Yeah, not based on, and going to as a part of circular economy. It does not work without thermal treatment. It does not work without it. And this was one of the motivations to work out the position paper, which is about RDF for cement plants, but it's more about energy recovery by incineration. And this was the main motivation, because always the same questions in the 30 years I'm working in this field. So that's my first statement.
Super, thank you. Roland. Next you have Jan Haavaldsen. I hope I pronounced the name more or less correctly. She's the development director at Amiblu Technology in Norway. Is a very prominent producer of glass fiber pipes, large scale diameter, so bigger pipes for example, sewage, wastewater, and other applications. And my question would be to you, Jan, what is the comparative CO2 footprint of glass fiber resistant pipes as compared with other base material for pipes?
Thank you. I'm a Jane, just for the
okay,
next question. Not that it's a real problem. Yeah, well, we actually have quite a good CO2 footprint compared to a lot of the traditional materials. And there we're thinking about steel, ductile iron and concrete, but also some of the new plastic types, polyethylenes, PVCs, etc., as well as our own glass fiber reinforced plastics we can compare ourselves well with. But of course, our cornerstone is always going to be looking after the lifetime, the waste prevention, and making sure really we're making the best out of the pipe, and we're not having to think too much about CO2 and recycling. Having said that, what drives us with our CO2 footprint is typically the organic materials from fossils, the plastic component of the GRP pipe, but we also have glass fibers made from clean energy in Europe and a lot of silica sand. So when it comes to the CO2 footprint of us compared to other materials, we're actually quite beneficial compared to steel and ductile iron. They're about 6 times CO2 compared to us. Concrete, we're about the same. And polyethylene is about double of our GRP pipes. So we're very well positioned. I think one of the things that we find working with the environmental product declarations for the building construction industry is that many pipe manufacturers are reporting in kilos, but the customer are actually buying meters of pipe. And that's something that we're always trying to address. So the consumers, even if they're B2B consumers, are making informed decisions. But we also have to think about the future for us, and we're trying to obviously drive our CO2 footprint down compared to all the other industries, of course. And so we have a big focus on solar and hydro energy, and we have our plant in Spain is fully sustainable with essentially 100% solar energy in their plant. We obviously look after our waste, but we also have to think about the biomass and biogenic content of our plastic component that we use. And that's a bit of a challenge for us. We have the partial carbon footprints, which considers the biogenic, but the environmental product declarations from the PCR and the construction business don't actually permit mass balance at the moment. So we can't actually leverage if we make the decision to purchase biomass and biogenic content. And then the other challenge for us is end of life and post-industrial waste. We're very much interested in using the cement kiln co-processing route to be able to recycle, but in reality, it's a myth for us. And all the guys in the table here dealing with cement kilns daily, I really would like people to take our waste. We have some waste, always trying to reduce the waste, but in reality, it's not accepted. So the end of life is a myth, and that's a challenge for us in the future, how we include it in our environmental product declarations and push our CO2 footprint further. But generally, GRP pipes are good compared to the alternatives.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Jane. And next will be Jure Fiser from Surovina, Slovenian waste circularity company. And I think, Jure, you basically wanted to ask a question more to Wolfgang.
Yes. Hello to everybody. I had actually the question about, is there any idea that the EU regulation will do something in the area of end of waste for the SRF?
Yes, okay. So the question is end of waste criteria for SRF. Don't know if you were aware of the problems that were linked to the SRF plant in Cyprus. That was recently in the context of the designated commissioner from Cyprus, who had there was some criticism about the quality of the SRF coming out of the treatment plant. So we are aware of the problem, but again, currently we could come up, we have the mandate, but SRF is not a priority task for us when it comes to end of waste criteria. We are currently for having in the development of end of waste criteria for plastic waste or recycled plastic. This is our current priority. Next is also for car tires, also a priority. So SRF is not on our priority list. If you see some benefits, some, let's say, economic benefits that would help making the SRF or this sustainable, let's say, to have this also in terms of economics, that you say, I need this because SRF is EU end of waste criteria for SRF are important to have this to harvest the fruits of the internal market, as I put it. Then you have to come up and convince us that we launch some works on this to come up with EU end of waste criteria. You know, currently, as long as there are no EU end of waste criteria, each member state can develop their own, which is of course not good if you have if you are in a small member state. The answer is currently it's not on our let's say priority list. If you come up with evidence that this would be important for you in terms of, and to deliver some that these criteria would help you in let's say from an economic point of view, then we can think about, but it always takes some time, 2 years or something like that in the minimum, to have it. We had it for paper already, and that was a little bit a negative experience. We were almost there, but then the industry didn't like the criteria, and then we didn't develop them. Maybe we'll have a new. We are also thinking now already about end of waste criteria for sewage sludge, some components of sewage sludge. I mentioned end of waste criteria for bottom ash from incineration. These are things, but for the SRF itself, we haven't it. So it must come from you to launch, to bring this in this ball rolling.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I have another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, one quite the area which affects us a lot is actually the EC regulation of waste shipment. We are a very small member state. We have basically almost no possibility to solve our waste internally in the country, so we are heavily dependent on export. And the problem which we face is that the regulation allows a lot of room for, let's say, for different thinking. How exactly should this waste shipment be treated? It means that we were facing huge problems that up to 300 days the permit was not issued. We were stuck with a lot of waste in stock and so on. We had fires and everything, and the regulatory body just took a lot of space for argumentation why we cannot get certain permits and so on. I was told that basically this idea on waste shipment would be to enhance the procedures quickly and to allow companies to act quickly. So, do you have any idea how to overcome these problems?
Yeah, I think we have a new waste shipment regulation, but it's not yet, let's say, enforced. The legal text is in place, is published, and is the entry into force is there, but the application is not yet there. So there will be a lot of let's say these benefits will only come in due course. So we have the new law is there, and what you just reported should be overcome in I don't know which when the respective act will kick in, but I think it will be from next year on that it will materialize this facilitation of the intra-community shipment of waste.
We are especially worried about the objection for the import of the waste to some certain country, and
from
which
third country.
Yeah, not to to the member state country. That means that they can.
And then we don't speak about import within the EU. We don't speak about import. It's intra-community shipment.
It's community shipment, but they can object with any serious reasons every shipment. So this is going to be very, very harmful for certain relationships with cement kilns outside of for instance, Slovenia or whatever. It just gives no certainty for anything. So, was this meant to be like that, or?
I cannot answer this question. I'm not the expert for waste shipment, so I don't know what was the intention behind it. I just know the general rules of the new regulation, but then there you would have to come up with a written question, and I will forward it to the colleagues.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe we can write it down and check with your colleagues. Yeah. Super, thank you very much. Then we will continue with Dritan Dervishaj. He's from Albania, so another country perspective, and then also from Antea Cement, and he's the environmental and quarries manager for Titan Albania. So yeah, another cement company. And basically, I think you also have some questions for Wolfgang, but maybe we start with the question for you, Dritan. So yes. What are Antea and Titan Group's policies and progress regarding the use of RDF SRF in the cement manufacturing process?
Yes. Hello to everybody.
Hello.
Yes, the increased use of alternative fuels in place of non-renewable fossil fuels is a key level towards the achievement of Titan Group's decarbonization targets. As the target that Titan Group has for 2030 is to decrease by 35% the CO2 emissions. Yes, this compared to the 1990 levels. In 2023, as achievement of Titan, I mean as a group, Titan Group, it was around 19.6% the substitution rate of fossil fuels with alternative ones. But the progress was quite different in every country. For example, in Bulgaria, in that plant, they achieved close to 70% the substitution of fossil fuels. In Greece plant, they were around 35%. But let me speak for our plant located in Albania, the Antea plant. Unfortunately, our progress compared to the group is low in this direction because there is no sources of RDF or SRF in Albania. That's why our progress is low. From the other side, because this is due to the low level of waste management in the whole country in Albania. There are no sources yet for RDF or SRF. From the other side, we cannot use RDF or SRF for importing by EU countries because in Albania is a ban for importing of alternative fuels from abroad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then so maybe we start with the second round, basically the same procedure, and then afterwards we will open it up to the public. Yeah? So thank you. I see already quite a lot of questions in the chat, and then also a raised hand from Gert. So we will just work our way through this after the next round. Yeah. Super. So my next question goes to Wolfgang. How can practitioners ensure that only the truly non-recyclable fraction of waste is being used for RDF, SRF?
Well, this is the hen and the egg problem. I told you what we from the legislator side can do, and this is what I spelled out for the new packaging regulation, where we say we ensure that all the materials are recyclable, and then that this also goes into real recycling, and we were forced to come up with this derogation. I don't know who is the real culprit, where is the incentive to nonetheless burn or incinerate recyclable, separately collected recyclable product. For me, as an economist, it's pretty much, let's say, the economies behind it. So the recycling or the value of the recyclate is still too low, and the let's say the costs, be it now the CO2 costs of the incineration, or it's still too attractive to give this into incineration. So I don't think it's the energy price or the value that the incinerators can get for the energy recovered, but the recycling itself is still not competitive in terms of from an economical point of view, and therefore there will always be, as long as this is not the case, the waste will go into incineration. So we can say there and the incinerators, you of course you have an interest to fill your capacities, and the incinerators have to have as much as supply as possible. So I think the economic conditions or frameworks have to be changed, and this is what we want to do in our Circular Economy Act, to deviate it into to bring the waste streams into recycling, and not to make it more economically viable to go into recycling than into incineration.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, one point.
Yeah.
I would have to leave in 10 minutes. If you would, because I have another, and it's not lunch, it's another meeting. If you would have maybe allow, if there is somebody from the audience who wants to ask a question to me, but at 12:15 I would have to leave. I cannot stay
Okay.
longer.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we will do this first. And basically, we would then jump to questions from the audience for Wolfgang. And there's one from Gerd. He raised the hand, and then Robert Üveg, Rachel Tanti, and also Alexandra. And George, yeah, Gregor. Do you want to just maybe unmute yourselves and ask the questions one after the other? Maybe we start with the Gerd, and then also Christian is raising his hand, so you can see how far we come.
Thank you very much, Ingo. Thank you. My name is Gerd Kuperis. I work for ERFO, European Recovered Fuel Organization. We represent the producers of SRF in Europe. And I have one question concerning the revision of the Waste Framework Directive. There has been an amendment, a very interesting amendment from members of Parliament, in which they would like to request the Commission to study the issue of fuels from waste, and to assess if production of fuels from waste could be a recycling activity. Are you aware of that, and do you know where in the process the revision of the Waste Framework Directive is?
Yeah, okay, understood. Yes, the targeted revision of the Waste Framework Directive was published. The Commission proposal was published last year, and we are now in the final phase of the co-decision procedure. That means Parliament and Council are starting the so-called trilogues, where the Commission is the third participant. Apart from the two legislators. Indeed, I am aware, of course, of that amendment, but not talking about what I think about or why it didn't make it through the Parliament. It didn't get a majority in the Parliament. So this proposal or this amendment, I do not comment what I think about it. But the bigger reason was that the Waste Framework Directive revision is a targeted revision to improve the rules for textile waste and to improve the rules for food waste. These are the two targets that are the two problems that are addressed with the current ongoing revision of the Waste Framework Directive. Anything beyond, and including landfill and incineration, waste hierarchy, all these things, this will now be part of the Circular Economy Act. And I told you it will come in end of 26, and before we will have an impact assessment, and such ideas, of course, can be evaluated again, such policy options in the margins of the impact assessment for the upcoming Circular Economy Act, which will also revise the Waste Framework Directive.
Okay, thank you. Clear answer. Thank you. But we will hopefully be in contact. We will try to provide as much information.
I can imagine.
For both acts, and absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Christian Lampl, you go next.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, I'm at the fair. That's why maybe I didn't respond. I want to just add to that what you have discussed now. In the last 4 years, we have done a very great job. Let's say the University of Leoben has done a great job and made the ISO standard for the recycling rate of co-processing, which goes in this direction, what you mentioned. So we would like to consider the ash content which we are recycling in our cement process, to consider it as recycling. And I believe for the Waste Frame Directive, it was too early. But now we are ready with an ISO, so we can prove, and we have a procedure how to implement it. So I believe we should really consider this recycling rate out of the co-processing, at least now in the directives you mentioned before.
Yeah, we are also in contact with CWEB on this, but nonetheless, feel free again to send me this new standard or this ISO. On it, it will of course help the member states to achieve it.
Yes, yes.
And okay, but send it again. You can email it again to me, and then we will, let's say, have, and then it can feed into our impact assessment.
Yeah. And another very important issue, which is coming mainly up to now from Austria, but it will impact also other countries in future, is that we do not have only fossil CO2 emissions, we do not have only biogenic fossil CO2 emissions. Now we have also sustainable biogenic CO2 emissions from the RED II directive and RED III directive. And we are facing problems because the implementation in the member states, there's completely different interpretation of this RED III, and it creates for cement industry quite a lot of problems and a lot of administration. And we believe that we might be, because we are not energy producers, actually we should be not included, but all the member states are making a different interpretation of that. And as long as the waste is not a national problem. It's a European issue. So we are taking waste in Austria from Italy, for example. They have different regulations, and it's very challenging to fulfill this regulation, and it's a lot of administration work behind. So for me, it's a question if you cannot. I mean, the basic idea of RED 2 and RED 3 is perfect, but the question is if we could not simplify it a little bit, because it's really high administration work, and European Union is always criticized because of high administration work, and this is a perfect example for this.
Okay, take note of that.
Yeah. Thank you very much. But this is, I believe it's an Austrian problem up to now, but next year, 1st of January, it will be a problem for all the member states because of the new RED 3 directive.
Yeah, it's my colleagues in DG Energy would have to get this point. But what I can tell you now, I work already since more than 20 years in the Commission, and this I take it meanwhile really as a serious attempt to reduce administrative burden, and
Yes.
I can tell you for my area. I was personally against setting targets for textile waste collection, separate textile waste collection, because I said this is just an administrative burden and reporting obligations, and I managed to convince my hierarchy, even everybody likes the politicians like these targets, but I said no, this is bureaucratic monster if we establish it, and we did not come up with it. And maybe the member states come now up with it and force it in the co-decision procedure for the Waste Framework Directive. But to put it like that, I think currently the political environment is that administrative. This is a very strong argument. Simplification, administrative burden, competitiveness of the European industry is getting really now the top priority.
Okay.
If you could support, it would be great, because as you said, it's another DG, and it's
I don't know.
reflecting.
No, I don't know. We are not really involved in that. So it's just no, I cannot. I have no. Let's say no direct. And I have so much other work to do that I cannot engage here.
Yeah. Okay.
We have contact to DG Energy. They were in our energy roundtable, so maybe we can forward this question.
Okay, one last question to me, maybe.
Yeah. So maybe Jure, Fischer, you had another question, or?
No, I'm not keen, but just max one more.
Yeah.
No, I'm okay for now. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Then maybe Rachel and Alexandra, and Gregor, you posted some questions. Does anybody of you want to take this?
Yes, it's Gregor Volja from Ljubljana. I just have one short question. Is there any chance or any plans for EU to include any financial support to erect or to build the new waste to energy plants in the countries with insufficient capacities? Like, I know Slovenia is one of them, and probably all countries on Western Balkans as well.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Question understood. And I would be very cautious to say to come up with a concrete answer, because we are here, as I told you, we don't have the let's say we don't distribute the financial funds. I know that there are funds. I know that there are funds, but somebody needs to be unmute himself.
Nein, ich habe gestern mit Gesine die... Du hast mit der Martina geredet. Ja. Du hast gesagt, du hättest gerne 6 Lieferungen. Ja, und ich habe gesagt, wenn ich 4 anbiete, nimmst du nur 2.
So now, hopefully. Wolfgang, you're also sorry, you're also unmuted now. Just need to unmute yourself. Sorry for this. This is a overall mute.
Okay. Okay, so I have to concentrate again. So yeah, first of all, it's other services, but I know from the discussions, also from the, let's say, from the that we do not have let's say, a clear statement that we could decide that Slovenia is in need of an incineration plant. If we see that in Slovenia, they have problems with a very high landfilling, and in order to achieve the 10% by 2035, they must do something to decrease landfill. Then there has been, so we are not doing this analysis. How do they need more? Can they do it with increased recycling efforts, or do they need really? So therefore, we would not engage in this. The only thing where we are where we are working on is that I mentioned the taxonomy, that we would allow the bottom ash recovery as a taxonomy eligible activity. So this would allow you to those who want to plan or invest in that they can have the status of the taxonomy for private money. But as I said, for EU funds, it's first of all the decision of Slovenia to channel these EU funds into waste management. And here again, first of all, waste management, and then if they really want to go into waste incineration, it's also mainly, let's say, subsidiarity. That means it will not be decided in Brussels that in Slovenia there will be a financial support for an incineration plant. This is completely up to the Slovenian to the situation, to the authorities and economic operators in Slovenia. Okay.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang.
Yeah, okay. I leave. Have a good rest of the conference. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So now I need to kind of remember where we were. I think, Christian, you had your questions answered, hopefully, or we need to forward them. And then, Robert Üveg, I wanted to ask a question to you. So what are the key legislative drivers and barriers to reach higher thermal substitution rate in the CRH cement plants, or the plants you're responsible, or that are in your area?
Thank you for the question. It's too long to answer this question because the topic is very complex. In certain contexts, the barriers and the drivers could be the same at the same time. Yes, it means that if we overcome one of the barriers, then it gives the driver for the problem or for the development. If we are talking about the targets, and it was already mentioned, this circular economy package, which set up two interesting corner points. Yes, one of the maximum 10% landfill rate by 2035, and at least 60% of municipal waste recycling by 2030. So in my understanding, and what we see in CRH, that when these targets was developed and defined in the European Union, it was assumed that necessary infrastructure are available or will be available through investments when we have to meet with these targets. But in Eastern Europe countries, especially in those member states where the waste management at the low development level this is the area of the countries where I'm responsible. We see that the necessary infrastructure is missing in the waste management to produce a good quality alternative fuels out of municipal waste, for example. So therefore, these countries are relatively behind to meeting the goals. And if we see the early warning reports, what was mentioned by Mr. Trunk as well, that for some countries at the moment seems to be very challenging, very challenging to comply with. So and generally, if we say the consumption increasing and the waste generation increasing in the last 5 years, and if we predict the same increasing, then the 60% recycling will not be enough to comply with the regulation. So some calculations which was presented by SEVEP shows that at least 72% of the waste, of the municipal waste, shall be recycled in Eastern Europe to be compliant with the 60% recycling. So in my understanding, it's a pity that Mr. Trunk left already, but I think from European Union side and from DG Environment side, the main driver would be that promoting the landfill ban, or at least the higher landfill taxes, as a financial incentives for at least to develop the infrastructure in the waste management. And I always bring the example of Poland, yes, which shows that in our division or in our Eastern European cluster, they are the market leaders, let's say, on country base with the TSR, with the thermal substitution rate in the cement industry. And what was the main driver for them? Yes, that when they introduced the landfill tax, or first the landfill tax and then the landfill ban, which is coupled with the development of the TSR, the thermal substitution rate in the cement industry. It is not just sewage; it's also the other cement producers we're on the same pathway. So this is the only way how to give a good quality, how to provide a good quality RDF for and SRF to be used as an alternative fuel. The investment. The cost of the investments and the funds I asked already, so we received a positive message that new funds will be provided also for the waste management purposes. The question, how is it controlled, that how the countries are using these funds? I mean, for which purpose they use it? To use it in a proper municipalities, in a proper proper technology, what is needed to produce a good quality SRF RDF from the municipal waste. So that's my viewpoint.
Okay, super. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then a question to Roland. What is the role of thermal treatment alternative fuels in a successful and effective waste circularity strategy, referring, for example, to these 20 messages that you gave in the conference, or this meeting that we had in the spring in Ljubljana?
You know, everything is standing in the position paper. Yeah. So the position paper shows all the arguments and answers all the questions, and I think. But I want to sum up something. Yeah, the first main point, and I tell it once more. The main point is we have to show that circular economy and modern waste management systems do not work without thermal treatment. That's fact. Yeah, and circular economy without waste incineration does not work. Yeah. So and one is very, very crucial. Waste circular economy is not something else. Yeah. Waste management is the most important part of circular economy concepts. Yeah, you know, in discussion I always hear, waste management, everything is solved, and we have to do new concepts and new business models of circular economy. That's all clear. We should work on this. But I want to go to the chart, the material balance Mr. Trunk showed us. Yeah, the material balance of Europe. Yeah, I just have to tell you, we have 12,000 million tons of primary raw materials. You can look at this chart. Yeah, we have 172 million tons into recycling. I think it's inclusive recovery, but I don't know. Huh? And we have just 1 million tons for repair and remanufacture and reuse. So 1 to 172 to 11,900. Yeah? So this is a really, you have to think about this. Yeah, and the second point is this is one of the let's say the basic laws of waste management. Yeah, every product turns to waste. It's just a question of time, and it doesn't matter if we do reuse and remanufacturing and all the circular economy concepts. That's, you know, I'm very, I appreciate this. That's really good, but it will not solve the problem, because at the end it will be waste and it will be in recycling, but not everything can be recycled. Just look at our products. It's not possible. Yeah, it's not possible, and will not be possible for a long time. So then the last step, but at the end everything will come down. Yeah, it's recovery. Take out the energy, use the energy. So and at the end we have mixed municipal materials, mixed municipal waste, which is not reusable, not recyclable, and the best solution is energy recovery. Yeah. So, and this is the much more better solution, like landfilling. So the main environmental problem is landfilling, yeah, and we are millions of tons till now are even landfilled, yeah. That's the problem. And then the discussion now was very good, because we were discussing the ban of landfilling. Yeah, the ban of landfilling is a real booster for circular economy, for energy recovery, and so on. Yeah, and from my point, I wanted to ask Mr. Trunk, but it was not possible for me. Maybe I will send him an email. Yeah, but I wanted to ask him question what he thinks about waste taxes. Yeah, because there's also the basic law of waste. One of the basic laws of waste management: waste goes the way of the cheapest money. Waste goes the way of the cheapest money. And if someone wants to have it in recycling or reuse, it must be profitable. And some countries have quite experience with waste taxes. They were quite successful. And I would like to ask him this, but maybe I will do it by email. So at the end, to sum up, it's so important to understand for everybody that circular economy does not work without energy recovery. Yeah, and it doesn't matter what we are doing in circular economy with reuse and remanufacturing at the end. Yeah, so circular economy without incineration, energy recovery, is an illusion. It's an illusion. That's my main statement.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So what we are going to do is we're going to collect questions for Wolfgang and Trunk, because there's also some more questions in the chat there that we didn't get chances to ask. So if you have any additional questions for him, you can just give us a quick email. Wissam will post his email here, and then we will collect all the questions and forward it and make a short interview there that we then send afterwards to you. Yeah, because I think it's pretty interesting to get you a little bit engaged. Yeah. So Wissam, post your email here. Then next question is for Jane.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, so in the context of the motto of our event, waste circularity, and the strategy of Amiblu for alternative raw material, at the end of life of your pipes, your GRP pipes, what are the biggest challenges to close this circle, and what are the best industries to use alternative raw materials?
Yeah, we're currently active in a few R&D development projects in order to be able to be fully circular. We have some end of life, not too much, because we say our pipes last more than 100 years. So we haven't actually encountered many cases where we've had to consider end of life. But the context for us is obviously to be able to shred and grind and be fully recircular and accept them back into the structural pipe wall. It has some changes. There's a lot of glass fibers, which is a valuable raw material, and that is a challenge that we ensure that we upcycle the final GRP pipe when we recycle, and we don't downcycle and make it into a cheap filler material. So that's one of the challenges we have. Generally, the challenge is the infrastructure around composite GRP waste, whether it's either pipes or composite windmill blades or boats or whatever it may be, that the infrastructure regarding collection, gathering, centralized shredding and grinding, and then transport of the alternative raw material out to possible end users, that really is the biggest challenge for us at the moment. We really need to invest in an infrastructure before this becomes a reality.
Super. Thank you, Jane. Then Jure Fiser, I think you already posted your questions, or do you want to have another comment maybe? So Jure is happy. Then we go with it to Dritan, and I have a question for you. Dritan, since you're Albania.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, super. Can you describe the challenges that your company encounters with the utilization of RDF, SRF? So maybe licensing, getting the permits, public reaction, environmental concerns, maybe the availability of RDF materials. Kind of how do you see how is the situation and maybe how it's developing?
Yes. Regarding the licenses, it was more easy, let's say, than that we're not using too much RDF because there's no availability of RDFs, SRF in our country. So we have the license in place and all the codes that we can use alternative fuels, RDF, SRF, and other alternative raw materials. But again, as I mentioned before, our main concern is that the alternative fuels, RDF, SRF availability in our country. But I can mention some similar challenges that in our group, the other cement plants located in the Balkans, they had with the alternative fuels used in their cement plants. For example, in Greece, in cement plant, Kamari cement plant, in order to increase the TSR, they make an extra investment of precast liner in 2023. That was completed by investing 26 million euros, and they managed to increase the TSR up to 50%. The same was in Zlatna Panega plant, cement plant. Also, they built a new alternative fuels line in order to, and they managed to increase the TSR up to 70%. So, regarding our case in our plant, we have our plant is quite with new technology because it was built in 2010. But again, in order to use alternative fuels, we have to make some extra investments for the alternative fuels, but we're behind because we don't have, again, as I mentioned before, the RDFs, SRFs availability in our country. There are also other concerns regarding the quality of SRF and RDF, because for the cement plants and cement kilns, the quality of these fuels should be stable. And okay, the plants, they have to care in advance by analyzing and ensure that they have stable quality of RDF and SRF. This is the situation. From the other side, just to mention, where we have in our plan to make the installation for the next year in our plant for the RDF SRF by investing around 4 million euros to have it in place. And we are trying with the government here by explaining them to improve the legislation regarding the waste management and to improve the whole situation by producing RDF SRF in country, because there is in the past we did a project together with GIZ, a German organization, and we found that there is a possibility in Albania, and there are sources for producing SRF and RDF. And from the other side, probably with the new waste management law in Albania, will be the possibility for importing from new countries RDF or SRF and to be used for the cement industry.
Yeah, thank you. Dritan, wonderful. Yeah, that was our 2 rounds of questions. I would open it up now to also the audience. Maybe we start with Christian Lampl, because you have your hand raised very prominently, and then maybe we go Irina Kozheli, Lilia Dukalska. You had a very interesting discussion about landfill rates and landfill tax in Slovenia. Maybe you want to say a few words about this, but Christian, you want to go first?
Thank you very much. I want to add something to the speech of Roland, because new times, and we have new challenges. We have to increase the circularity rate. We need new technologies, and that means co-processing, for example, also incineration, is providing a new technical solution, and this is CO2. You know, you said let's use energy. I tell you, we have to use energy plus CO2. Because we are doing many plants, many cement plants, even also incinerators, have carbon capture technologies already. So we should use this resource. And we need new legislations for that, because it's not considered as, for example, as recyclate. So we need, it should be added to the quotas of recyclate. Otherwise, there is no motivation to do it. And that's why I said, please, think also about CO2. CO2 is not only bad. CO2 could be also a raw material. And we have to think, and we have to bring this in the brains of the legislative bodies in Europe. This is my comment. I mean, it's the question, but it's a comment, which is, from my point of view, quite important. Yeah.
May I make a small, short answer? Yeah. Yes. Everything okay. I was just focusing on energy because of this kind of audience. Yeah, but all okay. It's really...
All the basics, all the legislative basics are missing. It's even forbidden. So there's a lot of work to do now.
Yeah,